Hello, everybody. Another near refi weekly sync, and we have a lot of exciting news. We have NDC, we have upcoming refi events, we have contribution frameworks being worked on, we have updates on Potluck, public goods funding on Near, the first quadratic funding platform on Near, potential builds, so much this time around. Our agenda says less than what's actually going on, so let's just get into it. Metapool has a DAO. They are one of the first liquid staking protocols on Near, and they are actually completely governed by a DAO. They've expanded to Ethereum. Their Ethereum staking rewards are going directly to Gitcoin. The rewards for Near are actually decided by a DAO. They're having the grants round number 4. What we proposed as a refi work group is to basically build an analytics dashboard and do some education workshop in Kigali, Rwanda, around raising awareness for the Metapool DAO. If you know about the DAO, some of their initiatives are bolstering DeFi and the Metapool brand and giving kind of awareness around their DAO. So we're creating essentially a data platform to better understand governance and how they work, and hopefully can expand that into our operations and kind of better understanding how to do governance. NDC, they have the Election Integrity Committee. They released a transparency report. Some of the things outlined here were candidates that were disqualified and also their methodology with certain cases as well. And then also voters who were disqualified. There's some things like shifting of Aurora candidates. I know Papa Blaze came into the top 7 for the Council of Advisors. The actual official announcements aren't necessarily there, but in the next week, the people elected are expected to form on chain. And then within the following, like the end of the month, there should be proposals from work groups, which we're actually working on our budget for that. And our funding proposals, we're actually aiming to onboard 100 projects through Potluck and spin out as a revenue generating through kind of this public goods platform and be self-sustaining there, and getting funding for dog fooding the tech, actually using the tech within the NDC ecosystem. So be on the lookout for that. Please support, please rally your congressman or your NDC electorate, let them know the work that we're doing. And yeah, moving on. BuildDAO is also one who is working on a retroactive public goods framework, but this is for open source software. If you know TXYZ, they're basically giving a way to donate based on dependencies in open source software. So what BuildDAO is doing, and I'm part of designing this, is kind of taking different factors for Boss, the ability to star, backend request, dependency tracking, forks, actually directly fundraising, to develop a framework to understand what is being used, what people like, and then dish out builder rewards on Boss accordingly. So this is a big issue. If you want to join BuildDAO, they're nearbuilders.com/TG-builders. Some updates on Potluck. Potluck is the public goods funding platform on Near. You may have seen us put out votes for the funding designs. The stage that we're at right now is we're making branding component kits. It's along the lines of the original emoji logo that we're using. We didn't really kind of settle on the icon that we're using, so we're bootstrapping it with this emoji. We have the create new project. We also have the project registry built out, and we have the high fidelity for the project pages. So if you go to potluck.io/Figma, you'll see that over here. It's looking pretty good coming together. I would love comments on the Figma file. We love feedback here. And we're also designing this in Tangent. When I go over the backlog, I'll kind of go over the stages of the MVP that we're launching and how it will look like in the upcoming quarters. Additionally, we're doing a lot of research. I know we're part of the Near Horizon cohort. He is involved in that and kind of the weekly open UX calls. And one thing that we're doing is kind of getting an idea of the persona that we want to apply for funding. And so if you're someone who is a social impact project, a nonprofit, a climate project, someone who is building an open source software, we would love to know whether you funded or whether you haven't got any funding. If you go to potluck.io/persona, we're collecting this research there. And as part of this, we actually are working on a attestation framework. This is coming in after the QF MVP, where essentially we can attest based on verified humans to projects across different verticals. Shah, who is doing a lot of the venture framework, she has this venture framework document inside of here. She has a working draft. for different templates for these different type of projects that we've been going, comparing it to venture, adapting it for public goods. So these are discussions that we have, and we have kind of a bi-monthly cadence for going over this and doing our research there. So if you're into market research, if you're into UX and user research, definitely tap in with her, and we can kind of get that going to build a product that suits the needs of people wanting to get funding for public goods. Additionally, we actually are transitioning to building on Boss. A lot of these designs we're building in Tangent. We just onboarded our full stack dev into Boss, setting up the Boss workspace, setting up the registry, which also connects to Near Horizon. So when you sign up with us, you're also displayed on Near Horizon. This is being worked on right now. Because the quadratic funding contracts have been finished. If you go to potluck.io/core, you can actually see the contracts, audit yourself. If you're someone in the contracts work group, we would love to get feedback. And also, if you go straight to the documentation, you can get a better sense of the contracts that comprise this and what they do. And this is actually what the developer is building off of. And so there is the pot deployer, which is a pot factory, which deploys quadratic funding rounds, the pot, which is what we're calling the quadratic funding rounds, and the registry, which allows us to keep track of projects in the registry, but also for owners and admins to basically flag whether there are any spam projects, and it has kind of a status repo there, and then also test cases associated with that. So if you're into that, if you're into forking and building your own QF contract, everything we're doing is open source, everything is public, and you can see our backlog at potluck.io/backlog. So at potluck.io/backlog, there are a couple phases right here. There's if you go there, go in the table view, just switch to the Kanban view. There is ideating, which are things that are nice to have, but they're not yet on our product backlog. There is the QF MVP backlog, so the quadratic funding rounds, and there's the MVP backlog. What the MVP backlog is where basically at first we're just rolling out a project registry where anybody can donate fungible tokens or near, and there's a referral fee and a basically protocol fee here. So this is what we're rolling out right now to onboard projects and to have people donate directly. We still haven't finished the donation contract. That's fairly simple. But the sprint backlogs are things that we're doing this week. The in progress needs review done. So you can kind of keep track of what's being done. We still have things like story points, but everything here kind of falls under like problem, user story, acceptance criteria, anything like that. And you can comment it as well. And if you actually go to potluck.io/forum, there is a discussion about design decisions as well that I would love for people to give feedback on. So be on the lookout for this. This is all connected to different repos within the Potluck GitHub org. So definitely check that out. Again, everything we're doing is building on public. We're building on Boss. We're pushing it to GitHub. It's all on chain. And so, yeah, we'd love for people to contribute there. Near Public Goods Hackathon in NYC. So Hackbox is happening, where it's an initiative by DevHub to support IRL hackathons with a self-service platform that's based off Takai. Liberty DAO, which is the Near NYC spinoff to turn the regional city node into a DAO, is doing a public goods hackathon happening, I think, October 20 something. We'll give more details there as part of a Hackbox pilot, but we'll be sharing insights with them and the team about exactly what kind of inspired us and things like bounties, things like that. I believe there's gonna be 8K in bounty prizes for this hackathon. Additionally, we've been talking with Gitcoin a lot. A lot of us were at Funding the Commons Berlin. We were also at Shelling Point Singapore. And we were talking about actually integrating our contract set into the Allo protocol. Allo protocol is the set of contracts that powers Gitcoin. It's their registry. It's their quadratic contract. It's all that. And the grant stack is a front end that you use for Gitcoin. Since the Allo protocol officially launched around a month or two ago, one of the conversations we're having is actually building that on Boss. And then afterward, because they're not an SDK, they're a set of contracts, integrating our contracts into them. But the contract side of things is going to take a couple quarters. There's also things like Gitcoin Passport. We're using I Am Human. That's going to make it a little bit difficult to be compatible. But I'm currently writing a proposal and talking to different stakeholders within the kind of both teams on the Boss side and then Gitcoin about building the grant stack on Boss. So if you're interested in building, know any builders, let me know, because kind of specking that out right now, what it would take, and kind of looking at budget for that, which is outside of the refi budget. I think I can pull a little capital from both sides to make this happen, which would be a really dope use case out of a non-DeFi application built on Boss. And this is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for people to build web applications on top of the Allo stack. If anyone knows about Zuzalu, there is a kind of like a Chinese community having an event in Thailand that we're going to be sending some reps out for. I think some fruitful things are going to come out of there. So we'll keep you guys up to date. DevConnect is happening. This is after NearCon, mid-November. There is ZooConnect, which is Uzalu. It's the pop-up city movement that it's like a bunch of hackathons, a bunch of workshops, a bunch of co-living. It originally happened in Montenegro, funded heavily by Vitalik. They're having ZooConnect in Istanbul. I think some people in the Near ecosystem are getting involved. There's also another Shelling Point and Funding the Commons. Like I was saying, we was in the past Shelling Point. We was in both the Funding the Commons in Paris and Berlin. A lot of fruitful conversations, partnerships, and discussions coming out of there. So we'll be having some reps definitely coming into DevConnect going there. So one of the things we're especially inspired by Celo and even Algorand is their carbon negative strategy. And so Near was one of the first carbon neutral blockchains. They're verified by South Pole, which audits carbon credits, but I couldn't find any of this information on chain. At the same time, people like Celo are actually using their fees and eventually they sequence their fees. Celo is actually moving from a layer 1 blockchain into a OP-based rollup, and they're allocating fees toward actually purchasing carbon credits, and they have a strategy for being carbon negative. I actually talked to Celo, I talked to NFBD team, and started drafting this carbon negative strategy. If you go to nearrefi.org/carbon-negative, I would love for people to kind of push this. Talk to the BD team. They said it wasn't a priority, but I would love to figure out a system to actually push this, but to take certain fees or certain allocation and make sure that we're not only carbon negative for the chain, but the underlying applications that build on there, we offset this and kind of build a leading strategy for this. The people who were doing this for Celo, actually, I think they're occupied with kind of more Web2 broadened initiatives, but yeah, we're out here building products. I would love people who care about this to join that work group and help kind of draft this and do research around this. That's pretty much it. Is there any questions? We also have been onboarding some contributors, some content people, some graphic designers, some data analysts that have been doing a lot of market research for us. But we have a lot on our plate. We're going to be building out the registry and kind of just the initial MVP for Potluck pretty soon and getting our proposal absolutely ready. I know Guy's been working hard to take a lot of numbers, especially customer acquisition costs, project acquisition costs, and really kind of finish up this proposal. Also, if anyone wants to see our roadmap, it's potluck.io/roadmap. It's in our docs here. So that kind of gives a better overarching view of everything from every department there. But yeah, I know I just like spit for the last I don't know how many minutes. But yeah, this is our roadmap. It's broken down the product, community, operations, compliance, fundraising, all of that. Would love people's contribution on that. And if anyone wants to join the Potluck core team, we do have daily stand-ups for this. So a lot of this is kind of a synopsis of the past 2 weeks because we missed the last one. But does anyone have any questions or ready to go off the record or? Yeah, we actually changed this time, so it's a little confusing for people, and it got taken off people's calendars. So yeah, you have to kind of add it manually to the calendar from after you get the Zoom link. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Again, these slides, as the title says, they're available on nearrefi.org/call slides. They're the same slides every week. But I'm gonna stop the recording so we can chop it up.